What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Chart Request Live. I hope you all had a great holiday. My name is Patrick Dunawilla. I'm the editor of the Chart Report, and joining me today, we got Sam Gatlin. Sam, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Excited to be in the last month of 2024. It's been a great
You and me
year.
both. You and me both, and it sure has, right? It looks like we're headed for what, double back-to-back 20% years. Very solid election year. And everything seems to be working, Sam. We got Russell 2000 breaking out to an all-time high. Even the mags, right? I mean, even if you want to be overweight small caps, which seems like that's the time of year, they tend to do well after elections, or at least the last three. And here they are doing it again. So even with small caps looking great, you still have something like the Mag 7 coiling up for what looks like another leg higher. So it seems like everything's working. What do you think? Where are the bearish spots?
Yeah, I think semiconductors have carved out pretty large inverted, or not an inverted, an actual head and shoulders relative to the broader market. So I think semiconductors are kind of sketchy at the moment. Just mega cap tech in general, I think you want to start to rotate out of. I think 2025 is going to be a lot of speculative stocks outperforming the big boys. And this, I think, is the perfect chart to show that. This is the ARC W over the NASDAQ 100. And
This is
you
great.
just now put the finishing touches on a massive rounding bottom. And you did it with a breakaway gap, and you're following through. This just looks like an amazing breakout. I think it's just the beginning.
Yeah, and Sam, what you're really looking at here is speculative tech versus the larger, more established tech, right? Because I mean, QQQ, most of that is Mag 7 dominated by the large cap tech. So it's really that speculative tech that hasn't really worked this year up until maybe the last couple months. Um, and you're saying kind of that it makes sense to kind of rotate into those more speculative areas. But at the same time, what I was kind of saying before is you look at something like mags, right? Or fangs, or even just the Qs on an absolute basis, and they're still coiling up. It's not like, you know, they're really forming like this massive top here. It's kind of just like they'll participate, but just maybe you want to be in those higher beta areas, right?
That's the thing, is the easy money has been made in those big names. And I think
Also,
you're going to underperform if you continue to hold an overweight to those types of stocks.
it's a bull market. It's time to get into those risky ones, right?
For sure.
Um,
This is a big chart for me, this
yeah,
SMH versus the S&P 500. You have
yeah,
a textbook head and shoulders carved out here, but I'm not convinced the Bears are going to be able to get the job done. I mean, you look at
yeah.
the momentum, and it hasn't been oversold. It's pathetic on the Bears' part.
You're right. I think if you just look at SMH on an absolute basis, I don't think it's been oversold since the bottom, since the 2022 bottom. And this one just at such a key level. I was just writing about it in the top 10 report. You could draw a VWAP from the July peak as well, and it's all just coming in right at this 240-ish area, 245-ish area. You also have the 200-day moving average, which has been tested so many times. You have the rising trend line from the 2022 bear market low. So there's just so many things working here to make this a critical level. So you're absolutely right to be watching this one this week. I think this is one of the most important charts to watch this week. And I think you have to work backwards where you say, okay, we're in a bull market. Small caps are just starting to break out. Do we really think the leader of this bull market is going to just crumble here? I would probably say that small caps aren't going to break out if that happens, or they're not
For
going to
sure,
be
but
able.
I think what you're seeing is rotation under the surface. Is these big fund managers with all the money that are controlling the markets are rotating out of these big boys that they have five baggers in over the last 2 years, and they're
Yeah,
rotating that into fresh setups.
yeah,
Stocks like Block, which we're going to
yeah.
cover here in a second.
Yes, we will. Let's get right to it. Enough rambling from us, right?
Yes.
Uh, let's kick it off with block, right, shall we?
Let's do it. Yeah.
From Grubier, which one of these stocks is showing more strength? Block, so SQ, or Hut 8, the crypto miner? Looking to buy shares to start a new position. So let's just take a look at Block first, and then we'll move on to Hut.
So here's, this is Square over Hut. So this is kind of an interesting one here.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Very interesting.
Trying to resolve a massive top on a relative basis. So I think you want to lean towards Hut, in my opinion. But let's look at the charts on their own merit. So Square, you have a massive downtrend, massive, almost 90% into a multi-year consolidation. And now we're trying to enter that stage 2 markup phase. So you have reclaimed that VWAP anchor to the all-time high, which is the ideal entry. So I think you still have a pretty good entry at this current level. Let's call it $90. If Square is above $90, you can own as much as you want. From there, the first target is 134, then 194, and then the former all-time high is around 290. So this could be a great trade. I think it has about, I don't know, you could get 200% out of this over the next 6 to 12 months, in my opinion.
Yeah, even if you just played it more conservatively to that 130, what was that first target you had there? 134? That's still a nice trade.
Right, yeah, for sure. And like you could use options and kind of get a quick hit and end up getting a 5-bagger instead of that. So it just depends on your strategy. But if you're trading common, I think you do want to hold it for that formal all-time high. So here's Hut, a very similar setup. Resolving a multi-year consolidation pattern. Really a big range here. Is this how you draw it, Patrick? It's just really messy if you're in this range, but you kind of have the green light now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I also like, if you look at WGMI, just the crypto miners in general, breaking out, even though Bitcoin hasn't crossed that 100,000 level yet, even though it hasn't, it's not really broke out to an all-time high last week when Bitcoin wasn't at an all-time high. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
For sure. And they have been outperforming for some time now. It's not dramatic or anything, but you have seen spurts of outperformance from these Bitcoin miners. And I think you want to look at Hut relative to its peer group, which is WGMI. So you can see it's not an incredible outperformer, but you do have some alpha here versus its peers. So this is a pretty good variable
this year. And the relative chart's just kind of messy, right? Kind of hard to find a trend there.
Right. It has gone up this year, though, in relative terms. So not bad, not bad. So what's the move, Patrick? Hut or Square?
I think they're just so different. And I think you probably have to look at your exposure to crypto, too, and say, do I want more exposure to crypto or do I want less? I think it kind of depends on that, too. Because at the end of the day, Hut really is a crypto play.
Right. It's going to move with Bitcoin.
Yeah. But I do think they'll probably move together. I mean, they have similar tailwinds behind them. Just kind of more what you're comfortable owning. Let's move on to totally different sector here, energy. Let's do Exxon
Mobil. I was just talking to a client this weekend about Exxon Mobil becoming a $1 trillion stock.
Oh yeah? When's that happen?
Exxon Mobil can get to $250 per share. All else being equal, assuming they don't dilute the shareholders or any of that. Then Exxon Mobil would be the first oil and gas stock to reach $1 trillion. So I think that's in the cards. So what you have here is a massive base. You peaked and rolled over in the financial crisis. Then you failed there again in 2014. and really fell apart, bottomed after COVID, and here we are above those former highs, trying to make a fresh leg higher towards 150. It hasn't been able to get the job done yet, but I think it could be happening soon. So if you want to get tactical with it, I think the move is to drop a WAP from this all-time high, which comes in around $120, which we are currently below. So from a tactical standpoint, this is a no touch for now. You are holding in the middle of this momentum range. You registered an overbought reading here on this all-time high in October and did not get oversold. So I think you want to give the benefit of the doubt to the bulls, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think. So what would you fib out for your target?
Yeah, it's tough.
This is a tough one to fib out. Like you could fib this and use like that VWAP we were talking about as your entry, and then targeting 150 first.
Yeah, on my chart, I have the 2014 to the 2020 fibbed out, and that comes in around 150.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the best framework for it.
Right.
But again, Fibonacci analysis is not perfect.
Yeah, and so I just checked. It's about half a trillion now. It's 515 billion. So you're talking about a double here, right?
Yeah, which is very possible. Like, look at this move it had. You got.
But I mean, that's probably going to take a couple years, right?
Oh yeah. This is a long-term play for sure. Like it's like you're saying, it's a $500 billion stock, so it's not going to double overnight like some of the smaller ones. But
you know, it's interesting when crude oil went negative in April. It was April 2020. Energy stocks and Exxon bottomed in March, or along with the rest of the market. So it was really interesting watching those energy stocks. They were kind of telling you, the bottom might be in. I mean, obviously, in hindsight, it's much clearer, but I thought that was kind of an interesting little tidbit.
And I think that could be happening today. Like you're seeing some of the leaders start to break out inside of the oil and gas complex, while you have heating oil, RBOB, and crude oil testing major polarity levels. Like one bad candle in all of these patterns could resolve to the downside.
Right. And what did we see then? Crude oil followed it. You're saying kind of something similar?
So yeah, maybe the market's suggesting crude oil, heating oil, and RBOB are not going to break down here. They're going to hold these levels, turn it into support, and start to work back higher. But who knows? Let's just let the market tell us what to do.
I like it. Let's shift gears to biotech and check out Mankind.
Mankind, love it.
MNKD. Even the worst stocks participate in the bull.
So I wanted to include the Baker Bros report we put together several weeks ago. So I had my guy throw the link to that in the YouTube chat. So if you're curious on the best biotech setups right now, go check that out. So Baker Bros is one of the best biotech hedge funds, and they hold their positions for a very long time, and they have a great track record. And who better to follow in biotech than the Baker Bros? So Mankind is one of them that they like.
Is that right? They've been buying this one?
Yep. Mankind, they have several drugs in market, some drugs for type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and those seem to be doing well. Look at the price action here. You're making new multi-year highs. I think this one has plenty of upside. The only trick is getting involved at current levels. How do you do that? You really wanted it at this VWAP, or this breakout from this range, but we have missed that at this point. So do you wait for a pullback there, Patrick, or?
Like it's kind of already starting.
Yeah. I think you could drop a WAP from here and try to play a fresh leg higher. I think you could also buy weakness towards this level, betting on it turning into support. Um, it's not the ideal strategy. You want to buy it on strength, but if this one gives you a chance, I think that could be a good strategy. What do you think about that? Like
Yeah,
$6?
I think I would be patient with this one. Wait for it to come in a little bit more, but I would trust that level.
For sure. So if we're above 6, you can be long mankind with an initial target of 8.5. And then from there, you could get 12.25. Let's see how those line up with the past. Yeah, I think that 8 is going to be a big one, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bottomed right there.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
probably some bag holders right there wanting to get out.
Yeah.
So that could take some time to absorb. But this one definitely seems to be turning the corner and entering that new primary uptrend. I like this
Yeah.
one a lot. Shout out whoever brought this one.
That would be Berghard.
Shout
Uh,
out Burkhardt.
Shout out Berghard. Let's do oncolytics, biotech, ONCY.
Okay. Now this one does not look like something we want to buy at first glance, but there could be something here.
Is it the fact that
Yeah,
it's $700?
this one's $69 million. So
Okay,
let's move on.
let's move on from that
We
one.
try to keep it above $1 billion around here. If you're new here,
Yes, and he did note ONCY being the riskier of the two. Let's check out Rocket Lab.
wow, what a chart this is, Patrick.
I know.
Weekly RSI got up to 95.
What do you do with that?
You probably don't buy it. Daily RSI got up to about 90. So we
That's the
have
thing with
seen
some
a
of
pretty
these
significant
breakouts
pullback.
is some of these like beautiful breakouts on a weekly. Then you look to start a position and RSI's at like 95 or something. You're just like, what?
Yeah. And that's not really a reason to sell a stock, but it's
No, it's
certainly
not.
it makes it a lot difficult to enter a stock because it's vulnerable to a correction,
Yeah,
which could not impact the uptrend, but it would be extremely painful for you.
right. Especially if that's where you start your position.
But this one definitely seems to be working, making new all-time highs. It seems like the market wants to come back and retest this breakout level, so I think you could buy that retest theoretically towards 1850. That could be your hard stop there.
So you wouldn't be surprised if this candle gets even uglier here.
Not at all, no. Let's look at a rate of change indicator. So this is the worst day since January, if we close at this current level. And then look at what happened here. You got crushed. You undercut that level and carved out a little base, but you eventually resumed that uptrend. So one down day doesn't mark the end of a trend, but it is a reason to be cautious over the short term. So again, we can buy this one on weakness back towards this 1850 to 20 level. It's a pretty big range. It's not clear. Would you call it 20 just because of that psychological big round number?
Yeah, and I mean you could start dipping your toes in a little before that if you want. I wouldn't let it go too far below 20 though. That seems to be pretty clear-cut level.
For sure. This is not something you want to hold below this breakout level.
No.
Then this would turn into a false breakout, and from false breakouts come nasty
fast
moves.
Yeah, in the opposite direction.
Yeah,
Um, let's move on to another ARC name here. In the chat here from Mark Zerby, Roblox.
love the Roblox. This is the pattern we are looking to buy right now.
Looks awfully similar to ARC and Square and some of those ones we looked at
Exactly.
the top show.
That's exactly right. So you have reclaimed that VWAP anchor to the all-time high. Buyers are in control of the long-term trend here. Um, I think you could get involved on a breakout above this pivot high from August 2022, which comes in around $53.50. You're about $1.30 below that today. So this one could be actionable very soon.
Yeah, I like this.
But from there, you're targeting 67, 95, and then that former all-time high at about 140. This could be a great trade. I think it has 160% upside. Not bad.
Not bad at all. I wish short interest was more of a catalyst here. It's only 4%, but that's okay.
It just kind of trades like a shorted stock, though, right? Like,
Right.
uh,
Right. Looks very similar to like a Peloton that has like 20% short interest or something.
exactly.
Yeah. Let's move on to Wavy's pick. Cool with that?
Yeah.
TAC.
Wavy always brings stocks I've never heard of, and I
Never
love
heard
that.
of, but they're always these massive bases.
So this is a $3.5 billion utility. They distribute wind, coal, some water. So we have a multi-year base inside of a prolonged downtrend. We're trying to get into that new uptrend phase. It has not started yet. I think you need this one to reclaim $12 to get involved.
That 12 looks so important, right? I mean, it was the lows before.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a inflection point, as my math people would say. Shout out, math. So if you're above 12, I really like this one a lot. Does this one have a big dividend? Can you check that situation, Patrick?
Sure can.
It kind of looks like it does. So that's
No.
something to consider. If you want to hold this for a long-term play, I think that is what the pattern lends itself to, is a multiple year time frame, which a dividend would help incentivize.
It's only 1.5%, so not great, but I mean, this has plenty of upside, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I think if you're above 12, your first target's 16. From there, you're targeting 25. I think you could stop a little bit short, 23,
That's a
23 to
double right
25.
there. You sell half you paid for the trade, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this could be a great trade. Shout out Wavy for bringing this one. Good eye.
Yeah. Wavy always brings the heat, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's move on to Elijah's asking us, stay long TRGP. He bought it at 40. Would like to hold as my sole energy position for long-term capital gains. Okay, so he's hoping to hold this one at least a year. I'm not sure where he got in or when he got in, but
I think if you bought this breakout about 140, there's no reason to think about selling at this point.
Yes, I remember looking at this one.
Yeah. So, Patrick, you would fib it out from this closing high, right? It's 140. Ignore this upper wick.
You could, this one I would probably do. I would do a range. It's going to give you a huge range, but
so you're saying do it like this and one like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So potential areas of resistance could be 222 to 260. So that is
I
a
know
pretty big range.
that's a pretty thick range. Doesn't help too much, does it?
Yeah, but it does suggest that this one's going to keep pushing higher through this 200 level, which we're about to cross. Let's see. We did get above it recently and are rejecting it, so that is not incredibly positive over the short term. You want to see it hold above that psychological number of 200. So let's let it dance. But I definitely like this one for a long-term play and energy. This is one of the biggest and best bases out there. We were
Yeah, I
looking
agree.
at ExxonMobil earlier. It looked an awful lot like this, with the one caveat that this one has resolved higher and ExxonMobil has not. So
Right. We'd like Exxon to look like this, definitely.
exactly, yeah.
Um, let's move on to another biotech twist.
Yeah, this is a darling. So from
Now,
2018
why do
when
you
it
say
went
that?
public, it rallied 1,500%. And if you are bullish on genomics, that type of science inside of biotech, this is, I don't know if there is a better play. I think this could be it.
Let me ask you this, Sam. Are you bullish genomics?
Yeah, but not today. I think it takes more time. So that's the problem with this, is it's a very speculative vehicle, and I'm not sure it's going to work out today. But of course, let's just listen to the market. My opinion doesn't matter at all. So the market's clearly telling you something's going on here. It's trying to resolve a textbook rounding bottom, bearish to bullish reversal pattern. Fibs are not all that helpful here.
It seems like it just refuses to make a lower low here.
Exactly. Yeah, this is just, it's pretty clear that there's a buyer in here.
Right. As much as it hasn't taken off yet, it's working in the right direction.
Exactly. Yeah. Momentum. I love to see this weekly PPO just now signaling a buy. I think that lends itself to this one
PPO
bottoming
again?
out and being ready to resolve this pattern.
Yeah. So what are you seeing? What does that mean when that PPO crossover?
Yeah. So if you just go back from left to right, we could have bought, if we were just following the PPO, we bought around here at 14, and then you sold here, which was a dud. And then it suggests that momentum is coming into the name. And it works wonderful for systems. Like, there are some very successful systems built around momentum, and the momentum calculation they use is the monthly, weekly, or daily PPO, depending on the strategy. So I am a big fan of that. It's much like the MACD. If you're familiar with that, it's just it's a normalized indicator, while the MACD is not. So with that in mind, I think you can be long twist above 60. Let's call it 60. And your first target is 88 with a secondary objective of 136 and perhaps $200 again in this one. I think this 136 could be a really difficult level to reclaim. I kind of imagine a breakout above 136 as a breakout to new all-time highs.
Yeah, I would agree. I think
There's not a lot of volume here.
Right.
I don't
Basically, if
think
you
that's
get
going to
that
take much time to
135,
absorb.
you're probably going to get the 212.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I love this one. This one has my blessing.
I like it. We didn't check out TPL, right?
No.
This one's from Dante. TPL, been on his watch list since 2020, and I keep missing entries, he says.
Yeah, so speaking of energy stocks, we want to buy. Texas Pacific land is certainly one of those.
I can't remember the last time we had so many energy stocks on here.
It's a thing, Patrick.
It's a thing.
You know, we just had about a year of nobody caring at all about energy. I think it's time. I think energy is coming back.
After a year in 2022 where that's the only thing that worked.
But you see how the sentiment flipped. Like everyone was talking about it in 2022, then nobody cared at all in 2023. I think you're going to start seeing rotation into energy. But Texas Pacific land seems a little bit overheated. I think it's hitting this Fibonacci extension level.
Kind of eye it, right? You don't even have to see it.
Yeah, no, I've seen this chart so many times. It's so good. So this 1700 is a problem for Texas Pacific at the moment. Now, how long it takes buyers to absorb that level will be information about the underlying trend. But I think this one's a no touch at the moment if you're looking to get long today. But if you're already long, I don't think there's enough evidence to suggest that this long-term trend is over by any means. But over the short term, I think it's tricky. I think if it reclaims 1600, that will get you 1700 and more from there. So the next objective after 1700 is 2500. So I love this one.
Yeah,
and I think it has a dividend. Let's check.
As Dante alluded to, it looks like kind of one that's tough to get into.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, did this?
But the leaders are always difficult to get into. That's the thing.
That's
If you want to be in the best stocks, you're gonna have to pay a price.
The best ones are hard to buy.
Yeah. What do we have next?
We got PWR, and then let's call it a wrap for today.
Let's do it. PWR is a $50 billion engineering and construction stock. And they are involved in oil and gas. Okay. I like it. And you have
another one that's tough to get into, right?
Yeah.
Dante likes those.
So this is kind of like a .com bubble base in an engineering and construction stock. So that's kind of ironic. But we broke out back in 2020 and has not corrected at all really since then. Like if you saw 2022 for the broader market, you would say this like you can't even see the 2022 correction.
Oh, so that's a great point. Didn't touch it.
This one is as strong as anything in the market. Let's benchmark it to the S&P. It's the same exact story. You're making new all-time highs. This one is an absolute beast. Just how in the world are we going to get involved today? That is the problem. I think we'll zoom in the daily candles here and fib out this. This is like the deepest correction it's given us, Patrick. So you got 20% downside.
Shout out to Dante for making us work. Going on.
Oh my. What a great stock this is. So this isn't incredibly helpful either. Man, let's try this one. Not helpful. What do you do here, Patrick?
I think you just got to be patient. I would wait for a retest of that base, but it's tricky. It's one of those things where the best trends don't give you a chance to. The train doesn't back up to let the latecomers on, right?
Yeah, I think
there's something wrong with the train.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe just a high and tight bull flag is what you look to buy, and that kind of seems to be shaping up here. I can zoom into daily or 1 hour candlesticks to make it a little bit easier to see, but this is what I'm looking at. I think this is the best way to get into this trend at current levels. If this can break this downward sloping channel, line, then I think the path of least resistance will shift back to the upside. That will coincide with reclaiming that VWAP anchor to the all-time high. I think that's the strat here.
Well,
But certainly not an easy one.
he's in at 166, so he's sitting pretty in
Ooh.
this. So if
Yeah.
anything, maybe we should be looking at targets and what to look for
Sure. Okay.
for getting out of this thing, or signs of a potential reversal.
Right. So you saw the market acknowledge this 265 level. You saw it acknowledge this 165 level. I'm expecting it to acknowledge this 428 level as well. But
Huh.
I don't think that's a reason to sell it. I think you could sell a portion of it there, maybe take 1/3 off or something like that. But boy, is this a strong stock. I think if you're in at 160, you're sitting pretty. I wouldn't be too aggressive with a stop here or anything like that.
Now that consolidation you drew, that typically those patterns should resolve in the direction of the underlying trend, but when they don't, that's kind of a tell, right? That's kind of a red flag. So that would probably be another short-term signal that if you were really looking to manage this on the short term, again, if you're in at 166, you can afford a 5-10% pullback.
Right. Like I think if this one resolves to the downside, you'd be looking at a retest of like 332.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you're in at 160, I think I'd be willing to go through that. But again,
Whether that. Yeah.
it's up to you and your risk preferences.
Well, listen, we got one more. We got two more that just came through. Mobileye and CRSR. Why don't you look at one and then we'll cut it off.
I really like the Mobileye, so
Okay.
let's start there. What was the other one? CRSR?
Yeah, CRSR. I'm not familiar with that actually. Is that Corsair?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Let's go with Mobileye. One looks a little better. Let's throw an RSI up there.
Although I gotta say, man, these video game stocks, I don't know what's going on with them, but you look at something like ESPO, that thing.
Well, I think it's a secular trend, Patrick. Like, look at Electronic Arts. They brought back college football,
that chart.
and that's
Beautiful.
what resolved this range.
I was waiting on this one all summer, and it's finally going now. But what I liked about that esports ETF I just mentioned, that ESPO, is you have exposure to Tencent and Nintendo in there, so you have exposure to that's where the alpha lies, is those stocks that nobody else owns in the S&P.
Yeah, man, check out Nintendo. So this is over the counter. And I know we're getting kind of off topic here.
That's all right.
This is one of the biggest stocks in the gaming industry. It's $68 billion. So this is Super Mario Bros. I think everybody knows Nintendo.
Oh yeah. If you didn't, where were you? Where were you in the 90s?
Yeah, so you peaked back at the financial crisis. You retested that level in 2021. And here you are about to retest it again. I think it's time for this one to break out. I mean, look at this textbook, massive cup and handle.
Cup and handle.
That's what I see here. And
I remember this looked great a couple years ago, and then the base failed, and then it built that handle. But
that's what it did, is it built the handle. It just made it even more bullish.
Right. It's like, if you really want to get rewarded here, you're gonna have to be patient. But what that handle did is it created kind of a more solid foundation, and it should be better off now because of that.
Exactly. So I love this one above 15.5. I think the first stop's 24, 37 after that. We were asked about Mobileye though. So
yeah, sorry.
Let's talk about that.
Sure.
Really like that you got an overbought read here.
It's battling that earnings gap, huh?
Yeah, that's a good point. So that was from a few months ago. You fell about 22.5% in a single day.
And then hit probably another 20. 30% after that.
Right. And that was on the heels of a double beat as well.
Ooh. So you're
So,
saying the market's not rewarding them for a good quarter.
exactly. But now they are rewarding them with a double beat. And here we are, high and tight flag. I think this is the way to get into Mobileye.
Kind of consolidating, just digesting the overhead supply in that gap.
Exactly. This is a textbook continuation pattern. I think you can buy the resolution of that. I think the first stop is going to be this gap fill, 20 bucks, but that is just the start. I think 24 after that. And do you think it gets all the way to 44?
I think it would make
Just
sense to take
shelf
some
somewhere else?
resistance take some off at that resistance. What is that like? Like the top end of where it got. Yeah. 32-ish, 33.
This level
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I bet that's a fib level too. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, what do you know, Patrick? Fibonacci strikes again. He is
Yeah,
too good.
that's amazing.
33 and a half. That
And
is
and notice how that 38.2 and the 61.8 just like basically enclose that little quarter, 2 quarters, of price action.
you love to see it.
They love to
I think
see it.
this one I think this is a leader in the coming weeks, months, quarters. I think this is exactly what you want to look
And this is
for an market environment.
this is an EV stock, correct? Or it's part of the autonomous driving?
Package software, it looks like,
I think you'd
yeah,
agree. Tesla looks great heading into next year. Looks like it could really rip. And if it does, you're probably going to see all those former EV stocks like Mobileye, the Plug Powers, the Rivians, all the, so forth.
for sure, Patrick. This is a pretty sweet chart here in Tesla.
Well, go to like a monthly. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So,
Just these multi-year consolidations, then like a 10-month uptrend. And if you're not in it, then you might as well just not own Tesla. Like,
right. But you got 3,000% on the last uptrend.
yeah,
So that's the context of this chart is we're consolidating after 3,000%.
yeah.
So do we get another 3,000% out of this range? I don't
Who's
know,
to
but I think Tesla is going to be the largest company in the world once it resolves this pattern.
listen? It's certainly a point in that direction. But let's leave it here. But before we leave, favorite chart.
That's a tough one, but I think Mobileye, the block we looked at earlier, I really like that theme of buying the junk.
I
The
was gonna
junky
say,
tech.
I think it's all kind of one theme right now, rather than just picking one chart.
Yeah,
It's what you started with. It's the archetype stocks, the squares, the Roblox looked very similar. Um, yeah,
for sure. And for me, I want to find ones with really well-defined risk reward inside of that group. So
yeah,
block
just a
really
level
comes
that
to
you,
mind that has a really well-defined level to trade against. So it's
yeah,
hard to beat that, in my opinion.
yeah. It looks like if it's above that VWAP, game on.
Game on. That's right.
All right. Well, Sam, this was good. If
This
we
was a good
didn't get to
episode.
your tickers, um, be sure to email us at questions@stockmarketmedia.com and we will get to them on Thursday.
That's right. Have a good week, everybody. We'll see you later.
Cheers. Thanks.